All right, we're here with Ashley Hann and hanging out in Utah. So, yeah, the whole quarantine thing happened, and I said, I'm going to go to the desert. Been here for 2 months, about to leave, and but Ashley decided to join us last week. So the last week I'm here, Ashley's here too. We got to hang out this weekend. It's fun.
It's amazing. This was the best idea ever.
Yeah, she said, should have come sooner.
I know.
Like, why didn't you tell me?
I know. I literally said, I'm like, why didn't you tell me?
No,
Was this amazing?
We did tell you.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
You were told. So I'm excited to talk to you today because you have a deep background in marketing and have and you're making a transition right now.
Yeah.
You alluded to the transition earlier, but you want to save it for the show.
Yeah, you guys are hearing it first. You got the exclusive because I haven't even shared this on my own platforms yet. So
yeah, she has her own podcast. I've been following it for a while. Started off as branding and then started getting more into personal development and spiritual topics and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you like my show, you're going to love her show too.
It was actually Gary Vee. He's the one who told me to start the podcast. I was super resistant.
Yeah.
He told me to do it because I was building my personal brand. And he's like, launch a podcast. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Because I had that whole, well, everyone's launching a podcast, you know? And I ended up doing it. And it was meant to be at first a business amplification tool. And it's really just taken a life of its own.
Well, this is what's cool is a lot of times, I mean, this happened for me as well, as start a podcast, start a brand, and then it starts evolving into something else, which creates so much possibility in the world, right?
Yes. And that's the beauty of a personal brand. Because you are always going to be Mike Bledsoe. I'm always going to be Ashley Hann.
I've thought about changing my name.
Don't do that.
Okay.
He has a great name, right? Like, I love your name, Bledsoe. But the thing is when we evolve, like I used to be in fitness, you guys. I used to have a 14-day booty challenge. Okay.
By the way.
Speaking of booty.
About every other time I look at your story, there's butt exercises going on, and it shows. I'm like, and a girl's got a booty.
I had a 14-day booty challenge. I had my own like physical transformation, but that's again, that was part of my journey, right? So that's the beauty of it is your personal brand evolves with you. And the people that were in my tribe when I first started with fitness, they're still here with me today. And they've seen that progression.
I've had the same thing happen. People, I think I get a DM a day on Instagram. Someone goes, I've been following you for years. Yeah. This transformation, people get to witness the transformation. It's great.
Yes. And that's what, when people are first starting out, like if you're first starting out right now and you're about to build your personal brand, I've had people say this where they're like, well, but what if I don't want to do X forever? What if I don't want to be a fitness coach forever? What if I don't want to do this forever? Well, that's the beauty of it. That is the literal beauty of having a personal brand is you don't have to. Your personal brand evolves with you. So if, for me, for example, I go from fitness and booty over to branding and marketing, it works. And I'm also on my next progression. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So what's the next step here? I want to go back. I want to recover. I want to go back and find out how you went from fitness to where you are now.
Yeah.
Because that's where I came from. I went from fitness to where I am now. And I still work inside the fitness industry.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I still post.
Take it out of me.
Yeah, same.
You can't take it out of you.
Same. You know, I'm still posting it on my story. Like, clearly.
Do you sell the booty challenge anymore?
No. I don't know. You guys could go. Maybe 14bootydaychallenge.com is still there, but I don't think so. But that was like my path. But so yeah, I started out with that because that was when I first stepped out into the light. Like, I always had this story growing up. Well, I don't want to say growing up because in my childhood, I was freaking in front of the camera and I was like, I want to be in the spotlight. And then some experiences happened. Some painful things happened. Some rejection happened. Bullying happened. And I just started to shrink and hide and mute myself. And then I made up this story that, well, I'm meant for behind the scenes. Right? So I'm meant for behind the scenes. I was a Facebook publisher. I was publishing ads and I was like always on my computer working till 3 a.m. Never, I had social anxiety. I was in such a different place. And I did ALA, which is like landmark forum kind of, but different. And it was a self-development journey. And that's transformational program. 4-month program. And from there, that's when I finally stepped out into the light. And it was crazy. So what I did was I started with fitness because that was what, like for me, when I really dove into fitness, I realized a huge portion of my power. Because I had always had this limiting story and this limiting belief that, this is like, I'm stuck this way. Because I used to get made fun of for my body a lot growing up. And so I was like, this is just me. I'm dealt these cards, like victim mentality. Yeah. And then when I realized, like, wait a minute, I can do something about this. Like, I'm going to see what I can really do. I'm going to test those limits I placed on myself. And I did. I had like a complete body transformation. And I was like, whoa, like that was my first feeling of like, I have this personal power and I'm capable of transformation. And so then that's when I created, all my fitness content and my ab challenge, my booty challenge and all that stuff.
Well, I believe that most people's personal development path and self-development begins with fitness. Because it's like, I want my body to be different. Let's transform this.
It's like the first surface thing that you see that can transform. And then you start to go deeper and deeper and deeper and you see, wow, okay, wait a minute. There's layers to this shit.
Yeah. Well, what I found too is having a healthy body and being fit became very easy when I went the deeper layers. It was like all the physical stuff was like, it was hard. It's like, okay, I got to motivate myself. I would shit talk myself into training and all this stuff. And from the outside looking in, it was like, he's got it together and did the same thing in business. But then as I peeled back the layers, it's like, it can actually be easy.
Yeah. And like, why am I really doing this? Because oftentimes we just forget the why. We forget the whole purpose behind it. And then it just becomes this surface purpose that's not enough to keep you going. It's not enough like fire underneath you have this desire, fire underneath your desire, surface purpose. We're like rapping over it. I'm like a natural bred poet over here.
She's also a rapper.
That's actually true. You haven't seen those videos yet?
I've seen them.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I pay attention.
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. It really, it does. It starts there. And then you kind of you realize more and more what you're capable of. And as you go deeper. Absolutely. And that's what happened with me for sure.
Yeah. So what was your breakthrough? Like you're stepping into something new.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The new thing. Okay. Yeah. So yes, I've been in branding and marketing now the last 5 years, 6 years.
So you got started in fitness, but you've always been in some type of marketing.
Yeah, marketing, studied in school, first job, marketing, director of marketing, that's been my whole jam. But in terms of personal brand, I first stepped out personally as saying, I'm a brand strategist, I'm a marketer publicly. I used to hide that part of me because I didn't think people would take me seriously.
Oh.
See? So I just did that publicly about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe less. And so then I built my business, Ashley Hann, was first Omni Media Marketing, which was when I was hiding. Now I stepped out. I'm Ashley Hann, brand strategist. And then, I've been doing that and I've been loving it. I really have. And I've really worked with some predominantly my clients are coaches and they're conscious coaches. They're people who are making an impact and a difference in the world. And I felt like through me helping them and amplifying them even more to reach even more people, to make a bigger impact, it was like this ripple effect, right? So It was very fulfilling. Especially the past year, I've been super, super focused on those clients. And then I had a breakthrough when I was driving to Utah, a 6-hour drive. And I had about almost 2-hour conversation with my dad, who always is just like this amazing mentor I've had throughout my entire life. And I realized that I know my next step and it's my next level of progression. I'll always be a marketer at heart. I'll always have a knack for branding and marketing.
Yeah.
I just know that now there's a next level to this. And what that is systems, processes, structures to support businesses and all coaches like my clients now, supporting them with having systems and structures in place to build from so they can scale efficiently and effectively. That's my jam, and I love doing it.
It took you a while to get there.
Yeah, and I've always had a knack for it. Like even when I was in ALA in my transformational journey and I was leading small groups, I had created a whole system in Asana. I use Asana. I don't know if you guys know about Asana. If you don't, check it out. I love it.
Project management software.
Project management
I've used
software.
a lot of different ones. Asana being the one I've used the most.
Yeah.
And I started, and then I shut it down, and I shut it down, and I came to the conclusion I don't have anyone to run it. And it takes it's a full. I don't know if it's a full-time job, depending on the size of the company.
Depending on the size of the company.
But
it could be 2 full-time. It could be 3 full-time jobs. It depends on the size.
But usually someone who, like myself, who's more on the creative side of things.
Yes.
Like, I'm not the person to maintain the project management.
But you can thrive off of if you have a solid system that's operating beneath you, you can thrive off of that as a creative. And a lot of creatives will look at structures and systems and want to run the other direction because they're like, no, that's going to cap me. It's going to constrict me. It's going to like ruin my freedom, when it's actually the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Structure creates freedom. It is the foundation to freedom.
Yeah. No, I'm getting that. I've had business partners in the past. We've implemented systems, and I definitely had an aversion to it. Like, there were periods of time where I didn't want to have anything to do with it. The rest of the team had to do it, but not me.
Yeah.
But I've learned to appreciate it over time. It's like, I need to create this type of content right now. Okay, they're asking me because as a creative, a lot of times I operate from a place of when I'm inspired, I want to create. When I'm not inspired, I don't. But when I started using some systems to create content, as an example, it's like, we need this type of content. And all of a sudden, it actually sparks my creativity.
Yeah.
And it sparks inspiration where it might have just never come up.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, especially as creatives, like, you know, it's a spontaneous way of doing things, right? And spontaneity is great. And sometimes the greatest content is created from that spontaneous hit of inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So that's always going to be there. Always. Now, the thing that happens, though, with creatives is because you're not super in the weeds and the details, is that stuff will slip through the cracks.
Never. No.
No. Not me. But
That's for other people.
Other creatives. No. Yeah. And it's true. It's like there's things that just will slip through the cracks. It happens. And then you're like, oh my God. That's what an effective system prevents. It prevents that from occurring. It's preventing the slippage, and it's creating, instead of operating from like chaos, which it can happen, you know, when you're like, oh my God, and then you realize it's like Mother's Day just happened. You realize it's Mother's Day and you're like, oh crap, we don't have anything planned and it's tomorrow, right? So that's like, then you get, and a lot of times you make it happen and it happens and you barely save it. But then a lot of times it's like, well, we could have done something super powerful if there was, good. Right? Yeah. So it's like the system is taking you from that kind of chaotic, way of being in the business to a flowing way of being. So it's like you're flowing through it because it's all happening for you already. It's already built in. So there's no way you could forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So bringing you in to a company to help facilitate this is obviously a really good idea. But what about the people who are, you know, they're solopreneurs or they have a small team? We have a lot of coaches that watch this. What are some things they can put in place to help them out?
Yeah. So first and foremost, if you're a coach, and I understand that's mostly your audience here, you're going to be creating content and you're going to be distributing content, period. Whether that's through email, whether that's through your social platforms, whatever it may be. So a content calendar. That's the first thing, right? So what I've created with my team and with my clients is you have a content calendar, right? And I build this all through Asana, by the way. And then you have what I call sprints. Have you read the book Sprint? No. Okay, so there's a book that actually talks about this. You don't really need to read it. I'll just tell you right now. Basically what it is. I was going to cliff notes this shit for you real quick. But by the way, is it okay that I cuss on here? I just want to make sure. Sometimes it just comes out. And hey, we're drinking wine, so cheers.
Cheers. Oh, yeah.
We didn't even cheers yet.
I know.
So a lot of times, so when you build out the content in this calendar, it's all on Asana, we do a sprint, and the sprints are either 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So you're planning 2 to 3 weeks out, and you go from, there's 2 phases inside the sprint. There's planning and strategy, and then there's execution. Okay. So the planning phase is when the creatives love the planning phase, because that's when you get all the creative juices and up and out, right? Yeah. And then that's the planning phase. You bring that down to the execution after you create your formidable strategy, and you bring that down to execution. And so say, for example, let's just take Mother's Day since we said that. You have Mother's Day and you know you're going to have a Mother's Day initiative. So that would be like, if you know Asana, but this is basically how it works, is there's a main task. That's Mother's Day, right? Then you open that, and then the subtasks are all channels within that. So there would be one for Facebook, for example. There'd be one for Instagram. There'd be one for TikTok. There'd be one for podcasts. There'd be one for email. Well, you got to get in there. I'm just saying. Well, I just got in there.
This is really, really great because I got started in marketing online when you could dominate one channel. The rule used to be until I'd say the last couple of years.
Yeah.
The rule used to be is crush one channel and you're fine. You know, crush Instagram, crush podcast, crush YouTube. Pick a channel and crush it. What I'm noticing now, and what I've been doing, and what I've been seeing is working in the market is someone has to see you on 2 to 3 different channels before there's something that happens psychologically. It's like, oh, I saw them on YouTube and then on Instagram and then on Facebook, and then it triggers them into working with you.
Omnipresence. Yeah, omnipresence. It's very important. And I do love having a focus is very important, especially when you're just starting out. And a lot of people can feel overwhelmed with the amount of, channels that are available to us these days, of course. So, it's not to say that you need to be on all of the channels, but like Mike said, pick your, 2 to maybe 3, and you have kind of, this is the key. Gary Vee taught me this, okay? What he taught me is to squeeze the juice out of every piece of content you create. So let's say, for example, you have a podcast, okay? You can take, like right now, we're filming this, right? This can be chopped into arguably 80 pieces of content through all the channels. You could. Okay, that's a little aggressive. So let's just say the average, for real though, that's a little aggressive. That's literally what Gary would tell me. And I would take that and be like, all right, let's take 10% on that. But, really. But no, you could do like 8 to 10 realistically, right? You could create a meme from this, right? Types of content. You could create a little TikTok video. You could create a stories, a couple swipe ups. Like whenever I do a podcast, I have at least 6 or 7 swipe ups that I trickle out after the podcast airs.
Swipe ups are amazing. If you can get over that 10,000 follower limit, and it's the best.
And even if you don't have 10,000, you still put it in your story and you say, click link in bio, just a CTA. People they just need a CTA. They need a call to action. Thank you. This is me and my brand in my marketing terms. So, and then also you have like Instagram clips. You can create an IGTV from this. You can create an, IG video, and you have a podcast. So do you see it's about squeezing the juice out of a place? A lot of people think, oh my gosh, I need to post on YouTube. I need to go on Instagram. I need to go on, TikTok. That means I need to film 3 different videos in one, and then they get all, no. You could film one and repurpose it across multiple channels and just package it differently. You're just packaging it differently.
Okay, so a lot of things that may work on podcasts or YouTube don't exactly fit the format for Instagram.
Yep.
And I wouldn't want to take something that's meant for YouTube and put it on Instagram and vice versa. So how does that work?
You repackage it. So that's why I said the key word is repackaging. Go look at Gary Vee's the king of doing this. So you actually go look at his TikTok. It's repurposed clips of him in interviews put together. Like he just made one. Like you could do this, Mike. I actually think it would be really good with you because of your personality. But you could take like a bunch of clips from multiple podcasts that you filmed and create a little song, like a video song. Because you know how TikTok's all about music.
It's all about music, yeah.
Right? So he did a few. If you go check it out, you'll see them. But he, that Savage, Sassy, Bougie, that whole song that's like all the thing in TikTok. He created his own version of that by piecing together bits of him saying each of those words in the podcast. So that's what I'm saying. It's about taking existing content and being creative, right? And thinking of how can I repurpose this in a way that fits this platform well, that's native to this platform that people would, it's like, so you're not, I want to be clear. It's not just about taking the same clip and just posting the same clip somewhere else. You got to repackage it that in a way that will appeal to that platform. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
You feel me?
I feel you. All right, so this is a system to you take one piece of content.
Yes.
You could work on it you could record something for an hour, like we're doing right here, and then go on all the platforms.
Yes. And so if you create a system for that, so your team already knows that this is happening, right? So anytime you have a podcast, so one thing that's really, really cool in Asana that I love is it can actually auto-create tasks. So you can set it to repeat and auto-create tasks on its own, right?
Got it.
So, and you can also create task templates. I don't want to get too nerdy. I'm not going to get too nerdy, but you can create templates. So
I almost got lost. I was like, I'm going to grab my wine.
So you would have a template for podcasts. I'm sorry. You just pull me back. Just pull me back when that happens. I just need to pull back sometimes. But like you would have a template for podcast launches. In that template would include all the things. And this is something that you would do for every podcast so that you're squeezing the juice out of it. And guess what? It would be assigned automatically to the person who's in charge of each one. How cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
So then you don't have to worry about, and remember when you talk.
For me, I create the content. It goes into the system.
Yes.
And my team just takes care of it.
Done.
Go.
Done. It's created. It's edited. It's reproduced, repackaged,
in a month,
and
if you don't
distributed.
see me doing this really well, because I do this okay right now, but I'm getting ideas. I'm like, oh, okay, we can do it better. So if I'm not doing this in a month, you have the permission to DM me.
Hold him to it, guys.
Yeah.
Hold him to it.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah. So that's an example. That's actually a really great example. And I think all of you could really, benefit from using that. And it doesn't have to be podcast. If you don't have a podcast, you can do this for anything. It can be just a normal video that you sit down and shoot and create. And you create a system for that, right? And then if you have a team, and I want to touch on team just for a second, because you alluded to earlier having someone in there running it. Because you're like, I don't want to be in there running it.
I'm not the person for that. That would require so much energy.
Oh, it would dilute you.
Yeah.
It would literally, so for a creative like Mike and myself too, like I don't run my systems.
Yeah.
I just create the vision, I create the templates, and then it's all from there. So the key role that you would need, and don't think that this is some expensive role, because it's not, and I'll cue you in. I'm going to tell you guys my little secret.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be, seriously, I'm going to tell you guys my little secret right now. So this is, okay, this is good. I'm going to put down my wine for this. So I hired my first, and she's still with me. I've given her a raise every 6 months because she's incredible. When I first started, I hired Marge. I call her Sergeant Marge in Charge. That's her nickname, Sarge Marge in Charge. So I hired her for $5 an hour from the Philippines. Okay. And this was through, there's a company that she's a VA matchmaker. And she started out doing like pretty minimal things. She has grown. I don't know what I would do without this woman. Now she's not making $5. She's making much more than that now. And I seriously, she is the one who's in there running it. She knows my systems like the back of her hand, right? So she helps me implement them for my clients. So she's what you would call maybe a coordinator. You could call her an OBM, an online business manager. You call her a project manager, whatever you want to call this person. But their main job is to make sure everything is being ran the way it should be run. Because the one thing that's not automated, obviously, is timelines and due dates, because that's something that's set, obviously, by the team. And there needs to be someone who's checking in on those, right, to hold creatives accountable, right?
I need that.
Yeah.
So bad.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You need a Sergeant Marge. Yep.
That's why, yeah.
Critical role.
People in my circle that keep me.
Yep. Keep you in check.
Line.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what she does. She does it to me. Like literally, because I have a huge creative part of me. Like, yes, I'm systematic and structured. But like she literally will, if I don't see something that I need to see, she will go out of her way to make sure. She'll WhatsApp me, she'll text me, she'll Instagram message me. Like she literally makes sure that I am doing what I need to be doing. And how awesome is it to have someone who has her back like that?
That's dope. Yeah.
So dope.
There's, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years, and I've had varying degrees of feeling supported. And so there's, what I've discovered over time is it has a lot less to do with the team a lot of times and my ability to accept the support. Have you found that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel more supported now, but I also trust more than ever. Yeah.
That's the key. I was just going to say the reason why I didn't feel supported is because, yes, I wasn't letting myself receive the support, but the question is why. Question why is because I didn't trust her to do what I thought I needed to do. Does that make sense? So like I felt like I needed to control the situation.
Well, this is super common.
Yeah, totally.
Well, this may be the number one reason why entrepreneurs don't grow.
Yes.
Or if you have a team, if it's just you, or it's a team of just a few people, or you have a lot of turnover, or whatever's going on.
Yep.
I had this for a long time, and over the last few years, just been amazed at how supported I feel. And I realized that the people I worked with previously, they wanted to support me, and I wouldn't let them.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with the other people. Like Marge was fully capable at first, and she wasn't working very much because I wasn't trusting her with a lot of things. And I just started to let go. And don't get me wrong, she made some mistakes, but here's the key. You ready for another key? I got them loaded. I got a Mary Poppins bag full of them for you. So the key is that if there's a mistake that's made, it's never the fault of the person. It's a fault in your system. That is the key. I have Marge creating, you know what SOPs are? Yeah. Standard operating procedures.
I was in the Navy.
Duh. Yes, we talked about this, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I actually think that I'm a little traumatized. Right? I was.
You're like SOP.
I was like, I don't want anywhere near a system for at least 10 years.
But you know what that means, though, is you'd actually probably be really great. And because you've operated through that before in a very different way.
Yeah.
But, it's true. I mean, it's clearly been proven. It creates efficiency. It creates that's why they're there. And whenever Marge made a mistake, which she did, I didn't look at it as, okay, bad Marge. I looked at it as, okay, Marge, how can we improve the system so that this doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
What can we do? And then she would document it. She has a running doc of her SOP doc, and it's like Marge's SOPs. And she has a running doc of this. And also the great part about this too, guys, is creating an SOP for everything that comprises your business, every task, down to this little detail of the task, and having it noted down is because if for some reason Marge says, you know what, I want to take care of my mom, I want to take time off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is what people do. This is one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make. They put everything into people. So then when that person leaves, because stuff happens, life changes. Maybe they get married. They want to take off for a year. Maybe they decide they want to start their own business. Who knows? And who are you to hold them back?
Maybe they just don't like you.
Maybe you're just a dick.
That happens.
But, it's like then they walk away with your systems. They walk away with them because it was inside of them. You don't want that, right? You want them always documenting their processes. And I have my clients do this. I have the people in my clients' businesses do this. I've literally taught, like one of my clients, Julie, and she's totally okay with me sharing this. She's like my one of my big success stories. But she's literally implemented these systems. She hired a Marge like I have, and her name is Shane. And it's like, it's so critical to be documenting everything because we're in a world that moves so quickly, and it's really easy. And I don't want to manifest Marge leaving. Gosh, I'd be so sad. But if that happens, I'm prepared, and I still have my system. You see what I mean? And I can easily bring someone in and get them integrated and onboarded in that system within days.
I think about two different types of hires.
Mm-hmm.
There's one type of hire that might be like someone like yourself. They're very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
They come in, they help build the systems, or they have decision-making capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the other, I forget where I was reading this years ago. Basically a comparison between like how Google hires versus how McDonald's hires. So McDonald's would hire like someone who just follows the system.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to be creative. We don't want you to do anything new.
Mm-hmm.
We just want you to do step 1, step 2, step 3. And then the other type of hire is someone who maybe, they're entrepreneurial.
Yeah, visionaries.
They're not running their own company, but they come in and they're making improvements on the system.
Yes.
So these are two different types of hires.
Totally.
And I think a lot of people are wanting to save money, and they think they're hiring someone to help them build systems.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're disappointed. So you got to really know what you're hiring. And
Yes.
so if you're bringing someone in to build and help build things and create, it's going to cost more. If you want someone to do what you're talking about,
Yes.
you put that system in place.
Absolutely.
And then you can keep improving it, but they execute it.
Yes, yes, okay. Because that's the difference, right? You have like it's a difference between a creator and what's that test? There's a test about this, like quick start, implementer. You guys may know what I'm talking about.
No.
Oh, it might
quick
be.
start is Colby.
Yeah, Colby,
start,
right? Colby.
Yeah, implementer. Yeah,
and then like maybe integrator, right? So these are
quick start.
Oh, I already know. It's like a 9 or a 10, isn't it? Yeah. I knew it. I freaking knew it. Yeah. And then so
I love starting.
So what's your follow through like?
It's like a 1.
See, that's mostly the case.
Not so good. I don't. You know what? I took that test a long time ago. My follow through is better now.
You should retake it.
I should be curious. And I'd like to know what my team thinks.
Yeah. Get some feedback.
Oh my God, man, that's so good.
Well, but it's very common.
It's not enjoyable. Like, I like to start something, and then as I'm trying to finish, I'm just like, when is this going to be over?
Okay, so it's very common for a high visionary, creative person to have low follow through. There's nothing bad, wrong, good, right about it. It just is. It's common. So here's the thing. This is key. Another thing that I implement is something called H&B, and so I have them do H&B ratings. So H&B stands for highest and best. Okay, highest and best use. So what I have them do is as soon as I go into a company, we do an audit. That's the first thing that we do, right? Every single person in the company, including the owner, the founder, they all fill out this. It's like a worksheet, have you, right? And so they put down every single task that they're currently doing. Every single task that they do. Okay.
I get nervous.
Yeah. But no, it's really great. What happens from this, you guys? And you rate yourself on these ones. You have level of enjoyment. Okay. How much joy do I feel when I'm doing this task? You rate yourself 1 to 5. Okay. 5 being highest enjoyment, 1 being lowest. Okay. Then the next one is your actual skill level. What you believe, how skilled you feel you are at this task. Okay. Rank 1 to 5. Last rating is H&B, highest and best. So how, from a level of 1 to 5, do you feel that you are in your highest and best use when you perform this task? This is probably the key rating. You could even get rid of the other 2. Because if you have people in the company that are operating at their highest and best use all the time, or at least 90% of the time and up, what do you think your company is going to be doing? It's going to be at its highest and best.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have people whose powers are being diluted because they're doing stuff that is not their highest and best use. It's just not. Yeah. So when I do this, sometimes, like in the last company that I did this for, we got to shift stuff around, and we saw this thing. Oh, anything a 3 or below, by the way, that's a flag. So we highlight that as an issue, and we work through it, right? And a lot of times it's as simple. And there's literally times where there'd be like another person would be like, "Oh, I would love to do that, and I'm really great at it. That would be my highest and best use." Boom, easy switch.
Well, this is a really common mistake, and this is something I didn't learn until I started using personality tests.
Yeah.
And I was running around the world thinking that if I didn't like to do it, no one else wanted to do it, and I felt bad delegating. I'm like, oh, I fucking hate this. So they're gonna hate it. So like, hey, I'm paying you, and I'm sorry for giving you this. And then I realized, oh, we're all different.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Not everyone is Mike Bledsoe. Wait. Epiphany.
My 20s were a little rough, and
cheers to that, honey.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Kampai. That's Japanese.
They were a little rough. I definitely thought, I was like, man, everyone wants to be doing what I'm doing. I don't understand why they don't do what I'm doing. Like, it was such a narrow view. Yeah. And then over time, it opened up, and I go, oh, I have someone on my team. She's my longest running employee, and she's been doing the books and managing. She does like customer service stuff. She does a lot of the back. She knows the business like really well. What's up, Elise?
What's up, Elise?
Elise, you're up.
You get him, girl.
Yeah. And she just like, if something's going on, like I know that she can handle it. But I've given her so much stuff that I'm like, I don't want to do this. And Elise is like, I loved it. And I go, oh,
that's great.
I would great. In the first couple of years of giving her stuff, I would check in. I was like, do you really want to do this? Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, this is the best. I'm like, okay. We're the opposites.
Big. See, that's big because that's true. It's like that is the beauty of the contrast of our world, of the diversity of our world, is there's really something for everyone. And what's not my highest and best can be somebody else's.
Yeah.
And that's a big realization. And so it's critical that like for my clients, it's mandatory. This is in their system, is that and this is automated. So even if they forget to do it, it will be done for them. Every quarter, at the end of every quarter, there is an audit. This is especially important. Yes, you could get away with twice a year, and companies have done it twice a year, but I recommend every quarter, especially if you want to be a fast-moving company, because you move fast, things change quickly, and you do this audit.
I try not to move fast.
Well, you flow fast. There you go. You'll flow. You're just flowing along, flying along.
It takes me.
Yes, there you go. And they perform them every quarter. So every 3 months, they're doing these audits, and things get shifted around, and people are happy.
Yeah.
Because this is what they want. Everyone wants to be. No one wants to feel freaking diluted and exhausted and run down at the end of the day because they're doing something that like literally drains them.
Yeah. Last month I was, I spent a lot of time in my highest and best, and it's great. But every once in a while, something will change in the company where I'm doing something, and then all of a sudden I'm wondering, why am I getting so tired? And I have a magician on my team. And yeah, who else has a magician on their team? But Nico the magician. He asked me one day. We got on the phone. I'm like, dude, I need some help. And he simply just asked me, he's like, what do you feel resistance to? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you procrastinate? What takes more energy out of you? That when you feel resistance in your body, what are you doing? And I go, oh, it's when I'm doing this thing. And he goes, oh, and it's something I need to be involved in. But what we nailed down is how he could help me.
Yes.
Do it, because I realized that creating curriculum. Mm-hmm. So I create a lot of curriculum.
Yes.
And I get excited about it in the initial phase, and over time it becomes difficult. But what I realize is I love creating curriculum when I have one or two other people to be bouncing ideas off and creating it with them.
Soundboarding, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was just it wasn't that I wasn't supposed to be doing it, it's just I needed to switch how it was being done and who it was being done with.
Yes. Yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that. And also you're very social. You're probably ranked. There's a test that I took recently. Now I'm blanking on the name, but it ranks your level of socialness. I know you're really high on that. So you probably thrive off of that, right? The soundboarding, the interaction, the collaboration, it probably actually fuels you, right? Where some people are, again, just the opposite of that. So in that audit, there's actually a part. So anything that's, like I said, ranked a 3 or below, those are identified as issues. Okay, so then once the issues are identified, you have a team meeting and you go through each person and you talk it out. So that's where you would discover, okay, we would ask, what is it about this that so says the level of enjoyment's like low? It's like a 2 or a 3. And we're like, okay, what about this do you not enjoy, right? Because especially if the skill level's high and the highest and best use is high, but then you have a low enjoyment level, okay, what's going on there?
All right, I'm going to ask you a real world question right now.
Give it to me.
I'm not going to mention the name. I know who they are. But, all right, so they crush at sales.
Yes.
But the actual recording of information involved in the sales process.
Yes.
It's like they're late on it and they have a hard time filling it out, but their ability to connect with somebody and enroll them is really high. What would you do in that situation?
Okay, so their ability to connect and enroll someone in like a program?
In a program.
And then what's the part that's missing?
Is the record keeping of like how the conversation went and the organization side. Yeah.
That's a systems thing. You see what it, so that someone who's typically, by the way, people who are really great enrollers and salespeople are typically not very, let's put organized, detail oriented. They're not the ones they're just not. They're connectors, they're social. They're probably creatives in that way. Like that's the way that creative. They create.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, they're not going to have those details. That's why those things need to be built in. Okay. So built in, meaning that like, for example, if you have a documenting issue, right, where calls, for example, every call is auto recorded, right? So I'm going to give you, this is like a perfect, I don't know if this will work for your solution, but I'm just going to give you one. that person's call is recorded. Once that call is recorded, it automatically goes to someone on your team who is a coordinator type, detail-oriented type person. That person writes up notes, documents it. It's then put into a repository where in Asana, I would put this all in Asana, a repository where that can then later be referenced, used in whichever way that you want to use it.
Yeah, that's the problem. We go, what happened with this person? It's like, it's blank.
There you go. Because they're not gonna do that, and they shouldn't do that.
Well, that's the thing is, I haven't been judging him about it. It's more like, how can this work?
Yes.
And we just haven't found a solution.
There's just a step. There's a step missing.
That too.
Yeah, there's a step missing because you want him. Look, he's bringing in your sales. Yeah, you want him to be rapid fire.
I don't want anything to drain him. I want him to be on all the time.
Highest and best use.
Yeah.
Highest and best. So that's not his highest and best. If you have him doing documenting, you're going to fraction off his the success he's driving for your business.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be a fraction of what it could be.
Yeah.
So if he's at his highest and best use, he doesn't have to worry about any of that shit. He's just going to rapid fire sales for you. And guess what? All that stuff that needs to be documented and handled is being documented and handled systematically by the right person who likes to do that shit.
You're 100% right. I know it. I know truth when I hear it.
Yeah. And it's like, this is the stuff, right? And then you have a freaking engine now. Now you have an engine, your business just freaking going. That is the engine that will fuel, like that's what I said, fast growth. That's what fuels fast growth is when you have an engine, a system that's just fueling your people and fueling your results.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you have it.
I want to rewind. We're going to take a left turn.
All right.
I want to talk about your transformation. I want to talk about you're to a degree, you talked about fitness, you had your booty challenge, but just in the short time that I've known you, I've noticed that there's been transformation. There's been an opening up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what got you into hiring transformational coaches? So a lot of people that they think about coaching and they think about maybe a personal trainer and they think about a high school coach or whatever.
Yeah.
But the coaching industry right now is booming.
Absolutely.
Because people are lacking context. There's so much information out there. I want to get better at this thing. Mm-hmm. I personally, the way I operate is if I'm interested in a subject and I think I want to get good at something, I read a book about it. And then if the book excites me, then I go hire a coach for it. Mm-hmm. Whereas most people, in the way I used to operate was, well, I want to read 5 books about this thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But once I know, I'm like, I'm just going to hire a coach.
Okay. But you're a quick start, honey.
Yeah.
Got him. Yeah, that's a quick start thing. Yeah. So the people who aren't high quick starts, who are more analyzers, they're the ones that want to read 5 books. Yeah.
But the coaching industry is booming right now.
Yeah, it is.
So what was your how was your, what was it like for you to get coaches in the beginning?
Yeah, so I don't want to say fell into that, this self-development, because that's not fair to say. My dad, I walked on fire at Tony Robbins, Date with Destiny or whatever it was when I was 14 years old or maybe 13. Todd Duncan, John Kehoe. My dad took me at young ages to all these seminars and stuff. But I was really young and it kind of went, to be honest, love you, Dad, and he knows this. It went kind of in one ear out the other.
I mean, I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar cassette tapes in my dad's truck.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I was enrolled in a Dave Ramsey, financial seminar when I was 17. Yeah, same thing. It was like
wow, Mike and I have a lot of in common, the fitness. We got all this.
That's strange. We didn't know that. We actually,
you're discovering it with us.
Yeah, most of the time we hang out in a social setting.
Yeah, it's true.
There's not a lot of one-on-one.
Or climbing mountains in Utah.
Oh, yeah, there was that.
And almost not making it off the mountain.
Almost. Yeah, we should tell that story of
literally almost didn't make it off the mountain. Really got scared for a second that this is where we'd be hanging out the rest of quarantine.
Yeah, I was thinking we're going to have to call one of those helicopters that cost $20,000. Awesome.
Oh, I love it. I love the adventures.
If you don't know what we're talking about, that's what you get for not watching every single one of my Instagram stories.
Shame on you. And mine. I was the one who took all the footage. Hey, don't. He just reposted my stuff, okay?
That's true.
Okay, where were we? Okay, so
you saved me that day.
I know, he's like, thank you for taking all this footage. I'm like, you are welcome. You are so welcome.
So good at it. Whenever you
I
put music
enjoy
to mine,
it.
you got music on yours, I go, wow, yours is so much more entertaining
So,
than I do.
you know, it's funny that you say that because I just had a conversation with my boyfriend the other day, and he was I was like, oh, I really want to create more like content. I want to create TikToks. Like, I love creating just content. I love creating content. And he just goes, oh, TikTok. And I'm like, you know what's so funny is like, for me, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like something I should do, because I know a lot of people are shitting themselves right now about TikTok. They're like, oh, I should be on there because so-and-so's on there, whatever.
I definitely have that.
Yeah, like I should be on there.
I've made a few TikTok videos.
Well, in college, I was creating videos of lip syncing to my humps with one of my girlfriends, like by Black Eyed Peas. Like, this is my jam. TikTok comes out, I'm like, okay, like I'm in. So anyways, I have fun doing it. And that's, again, content creation. That's another example of high enjoyment level for me. So I like being there, right? Okay, but anyways, we got totally off track. Self-development. We were talking about the journey. This is what happens, guys. This is what happens.
Not my fault.
Don't mind us. Don't mind us. So anyways, what really started it for me was ALA. So that was the pivotal moment, because up until that point, my dad did a fantastic job of doing his darn best. He paid me. The only way I earned my allowance was through reading self-development books. Do you need some more, honey?
Just keep it on.
Go ahead.
I'm good. I got some water right here.
He's like, all right, I need another one. Round 2.
There's no bartender. What's going on? Ben!
Okay, so anyways, I did learn a lot, but it wasn't, like I said, I had a lot of anxiety. I went through depression. I frequent suicidal thoughts when I was growing up, and in my early teenage years and college years. And then my best friend, you know, she was so divinely orchestrated in my life. She just presented the opportunity. And she was one of those friends that, you know, like you have those friends that you just trust. And if they do something, you're like, even if it's like, I don't know about that, you're like, okay, like if you're doing it, like I trust you and I'll do it. And so she's like, I'm doing this leadership thing. And she was already set. I'm doing this leadership development program, and like, I'm going to go. It's this weekend, literally. She's like, it's this weekend. Do you want to go with me? I'm like, let me think about it.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Let me think about it. And I'm an analyzer, by the way. So I was like analyzing and things. And then she just came to me again. She came to me again. Will you just go with me? Like, oh, just come. You know, Imogen's going. You know, she's naming people that are going. I'm like, okay, fine. So I go. I'm sitting in the back, guys, like this, crossing my arms, closed, right? I was closed. And I was like, what the am I doing here? Like, you know, these chairs are too close. Like, you know, it was a lot. And I stuck through it. And that was where truly, I would say, truly my journey began. I had some radical confrontations in there, some gnarly feedback of the way I was showing up. That was like, whoa. And so much so that like my knees were shaking and went weak, and I almost collapsed, and I was crying tears. It was a very intense experience for me. And it woke me up. It was that initial, like that wake up call that I truly did need. And from there, this is the thing. Transformation is a lifestyle. It's not a destination. Like, it's just simply not. You don't become transformed. I didn't come out of there. Yes, I transformed in such that along my journey, that was a huge pivotal moment for me. But there's always a next level. Transformation is a lifestyle, man. It's a choice you make.
But you're right.
Yeah. It's a choice you make every day. It never stops. And it's a way of life. And it's the best way of life. That's my opinion, but it is. It's unfolding always in front of your eyes. And the biggest thing that I hear people say is like, you know, and this is a dangerous place to live, is when you're like, oh, I've already done all that. I've already done all the work. Oh, no, I did mom, dad stuff. Like, I did that. No, I've worked through that. No, I went. That is the most dangerous place you can be, guys. Because I've done mom, dad stuff. And Mike and I were just talking about his training camp for the soul.
That's right.
And I was like, I want to do that. And it's like, I know that I've done mom, dad stuff, but guess what? There's always more. There's always more.
I recently had, our company works, that's our work.
Yeah.
For Training Camp for the Soul. And about 6 months ago, I had to sit down with our head facilitator and go, hey, I've got something. She goes, okay, you want a session? I go, yeah, let's sit down and have a session. Mm-hmm. And this is my business partner, and I'm like, okay, this is what's going on for me. Mm-hmm. And I sat there for an hour and like had to work through some stuff.
Yes.
And yeah, I work through something. It seems like every week there's something that I have to whip out the journal and
yes.
I feel the thing and
yes.
and I see what I'm making it mean and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're right. It really is a lifestyle. I had a client ask. She went through one of our programs, and it was about a month after the program. She goes, "When does it end?" We're on a group call, and I'm mute myself, and I'm laughing. And I was like, "You just started."
Yeah.
This is actually the beginning.
Yes. Yep.
And once she was able to, it hit her. She had to realize, like, oh, I thought I was doing this to fix something. And coming in to fix a problem, a lot of transformational work will work to help you work through a specific problem. Mm-hmm. But what I find is the most powerful place to come from is I'm just open to what is. And the people that come in to fix a problem, what will happen is they'll get the result that they need, but they'll miss so much because they weren't open to the bigger conversation. They were so hyper-focused on this one thing.
Yes. And the biggest transformation happens because you have I know this. Like, for example, I know I have this problem and I know that I want it fixed. Okay, that's operating in the place of knowing. Then you have the next place, which is I am pretending not to know. Like, I know, but I'm pretending that I don't know. Okay, so like that's another place that we operate. So then it's kind of when you're living in a place of like sweeping things under the rug, maybe a little bit of denial and avoidance here and there, right? And then there's the final place, which is the biggest, most limitless possibility place to be, which is you don't know what you don't know. Right? You don't know what you don't know. And that's where the biggest breakthroughs happen. And the only time that you can unlock that place, like if you think of I just posted a meme about this, but you have slivers of the pie. What you don't know is the biggest piece of the pie.
You don't know what you don't know.
What you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And that's the biggest place. So imagine, like some of us walk around and we're like freaking know-it-alls, right? And we feel good. Well, imagine how good you'd feel if you actually dared to step into that game, in that zone. And that's what being open means. It means you're open to knowing, to actually being like, all right, there's a lot that I don't know, you know? Yeah. And that's where a lot of breakthrough and transformation happens. And look, I could do the same training that I did, I want to say 3 years ago now. I could do that same training today, have a totally amazing, equally significant breakthrough experience. Mm-hmm. I could go through the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty. That's why you asked why, why I'm always having coaches. It's because I know that I don't know it all. And I know that there's so much more out there that, I have so many blind spots. I mean, I want to continue. This is a choice. A transformational journey is a choice that you make every day. And I know that having a coach will support me. It's like you want to get from one end of the earth to the other. Well, you can walk there, you can take a little paddle boat there, or you can take the jet plane there. And really these training camp for the soul, having a coach, those are like the jet planes. They help you get there faster. It's not to say you couldn't do it on your own. I'm not here to say you can't do it on your own. You can. Of course you can. You can do anything. But
I've studied people who've done it on their own. And every person I've talked to where I'm impressed. I go, what have you done? And they go, well, I did it for myself. Every single person, it involved locking themselves away in isolation for long periods of time with a journal. Months, some people years, and I'm just like not interested in that.
Well, you got Mr. Social over here. He's like, so how many other people are going to be there?
I mean, it's rare because if you get into the transformational community, there are thousands. But you get into I locked myself in a cabin for 2 years.
There's one.
There's like three people I met. They're impressive.
Yeah.
They're impressive, but it could have been done in a different way and a little more enjoyable, I guess.
Yeah, and look, there's no good, bad, right, wrong way like that. Everyone, whatever. But the part about being open is the fact that if you haven't tried a way yet, give it a shot, especially if you feel a calling towards it, especially if something's divinely showed up in your life.
Yeah, I remember I resisted. I had someone offer me Landmark Forum about 5 years before I actually completed it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, not for me, bunch of fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't know anything about it, and I was judging it. And then finally, like, I even had for a couple of years, I had friends, almost, I'd say at least 50% of my friend circle had been through that. And then maybe 10% ALA. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, finally, like, I'm hearing conversations, and they're using language where I go, I actually don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
it's so true.
Like I can pretend like I know what they're talking about, but I don't. I don't have the context that they're having a conversation from.
Yes.
And it was one day where I go, oh, if I want to be in the conversation, then I need to go do that work. I went and did that work, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Mm-hmm. You had to have his social proof. Mr. Social Man had to have his social proof.
But I had done so much other work. Mm-hmm. I had done so much other work. I was like, oh, I got it. It's like, oh. And the reason I resisted it is because it was so common. It's Landmark's like the most mainstream transformational there is. Like,
yeah. So
it's 120 people in a room at a time. Mm-hmm. I want to do like exclusive.
That's so good. Yeah, I get it.
Not anymore.
I hear you.
I now will put myself in a large room. I've learned my lesson. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny the reasons why we resist.
Yes.
And then after we do it, we go, huh.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that hit me when you said transformational work is a lifestyle is, for me, the work is always about being good with what is. And that's
yes.
And to me, that's the biggest thing is being in touch with reality and getting. I used to live in fantasy a lot, where I was in my head. I was worried about what people thought of me, or I was worried about. I regretted something in the past, or I was worried about something that never happened yet, or was never going to happen, and so I was out of touch with reality, and so. Most people, that's the majority of our life. That's 99% of our life is that. And so I think that from like when I heard that, I go, oh, it's a constant conscious effort to be with reality.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm feeling resistance in my body, or I go, why am I experiencing suffering right now? Why am I upset about something? I go, oh, I'm simply not accepting the truth. Mm-hmm. Like the reality of what is right now in front of me.
Yes.
And then it's easy to say. Way easier said than done, right?
Are you kidding?
Okay, be with reality.
Yeah.
Right, can you just be
You're like, this friggin' hurts. I don't want to be with this shit. But that's the part, right? Is like underneath all pain and suffering is what? Resistance. That's underneath all of it. Pain and suffering is caused through resistance. So I love that you said that. There's a great book called Loving, Whatever Arises, Love That by Matt Kahn. Have you read that? No. Oh, it's so good. Also another one, if you want more of he's actually, he has very like a feminine way of writing too. And he's more spiritual. And then if you want, like, he's very spiritual. Or on the other side of it is Loving What Is by Byron Katie. We talked about this.
Yeah, Byron Katie's one of my favorite teachers ever. Oh my
God. If you have trouble, like if you feel yourself, in resistance or maybe getting triggered a lot, the feeling of getting triggered is actually resistance or avoidance. Like it's a form of resistance or avoidance. So that book is great for that. Oh my goodness gracious.
So good.
And that's truth. It's like, loving what arises. And absolutely, Mike hit the nail on the head. It's freaking, obviously, love what arises. Easy for you to say, I'm going through XYZ right now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, it's a practice. So like, that's the point, right? Loving, let's call it the loving what arises muscle, right? The more you practice loving what arises, it actually will get easier for you to be in a loving, accepting space when you're going through a challenge in your life. the more often you make that your habit and your go-to. Like it becomes something that doesn't feel as painful, because what you realize is this pain you're experiencing, as soon as you allow it to be, it actually starts to dissolve. In most cases, it really does start to dissolve on its own, because you're giving it permission to exist.
Mm. Well, I find too, if you're doing it for the purpose of having it dissolve.
Oh yeah. You got to release all attachment, all expectation. The point is that what we resist persists. So a lot of times people think that by avoiding it, by resisting it, like it'll go away on its own. What will happen is that person might go away. Let's say it's a person.
I'm laughing because I dealt with this recently. It's like all the work I've done, and I'm sitting here, I'm going.
Because it will show up in a new form.
It does.
Like imagine yourself.
Yeah, it showed up in a way I was like, I have never done that. I've never been like that. Why am I being like that now? Yeah. It's like, well, it's because I did all this work. Of course, it's something that's really deep that you just haven't dealt with yet. Yes.
And it will show up in new forms. Because like I just was reading this, The Vortex this morning, and with Esther Hicks, wrote that book. And she talks about how, we can, a lot of us, this is escapism, right? One of my girlfriends just moved because she was experiencing a lot of, like, she had bad energy around her, and like just things weren't the way she wanted them to be. So she just moved. She just got up and left.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? That same feeling that she was having in the other place, she's now, months later having the same thing. It follows you.
Creating it wherever you go.
And because you are with you wherever you go, and you are source.
No.
Can't get away from yourself. Sorry. And so it's like you will recreate. It will be recreated, and it will show up in a new form, a new identity, a new way. But it will show up again until you finally accept and embrace it. And it's not, the accepting and embracing is really not, it's crazy. We make it out to be this scary big monster thing, and it's actually not.
Yeah, it's always surprisingly, there's a chuckle at the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chuckle at the end, and what I've theorized is the reason it's funny is because it's never as big of a deal as we thought it was, but it's also the reason it's not as bad as we thought it was is because we had never done it before. Because it was so new, it was scary. But once you go through it, you're like, it actually wasn't that bad.
Because it was fear. It was false evidence appearing real. That was fear. False evidence appearing real. That's what it was. And it was all an illusion. Like worrying. Oh my gosh. My nickname, my nanny, I just visited my nanny today. She used to call me Worrywart. That was my nickname, Worrywart. Worrywart. Because I worrywarted about everything.
That didn't reinforce anything.
Yeah, right. And so, but the thing is like, that's what worrying is. It's something that, typically it's something in the future, but it can also be worrying about the past as well. But it's things that are no longer, it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's an illusion. It's not what's present. It's an illusion. And so it's like learning to be more in the present has helped me. Practicing presence is really truly, and when I got out of my experience with ALA, that was one of my biggest things is practicing presence. I realized I was like never in the now. Like I was rarely ever in the now.
Yeah.
I was just literally living in fantasy worlds that weren't real. And they were often not pleasant.
They weren't good fantasies.
Yeah, they weren't. Yeah, exactly. No, we're not talking about like dreamy fantasies. We're talking about like...
It's like Game of Thrones. I had a client recently where they were like so insistent that this thing was real. Yeah. And I'm like, man, and it's like I have to use like all these different mirrors, and I'm using all these different tactics to
try to puncture the
they
bubble.
They have to realize it for themselves.
Yes.
And I just have to help them get there. But this is where the power of coaching comes in, because if you're arguing that something is real, it's probably not. Like 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, it's not real. And you need someone that challenge you and to push you and to help you see a different perspective so you can go, oh, that's not really a monster.
Yep. Help you see is very important. Like one thing I've learned through, this is friendship wise. So, all of us have that friend that just like doesn't take your advice ever. And like, that friend where it's like, or they'll keep dating that toxic guy who just, you're like, man, girl, you can get way better than that. And you keep telling them over and over, like, don't date him, break up with him. They're just stop, because they're not going to listen to you. They need to figure it out on their own. They need to actually be inspired into action, not forced or told or pushed into action. And I found that I used to be that friend, back in college, where I would try to, because I cared about my friends. That's where it's always coming from love. It's always coming from care. But you have to bite your tongue and just be what you want to see, right? Be what you want to see. Just inspire through your way of being, through action. If you tell them not to do something, you're going to actually create separation between you two. That actually ruined my friendships, because then guess what happens? They don't feel comfortable telling you about what's going on in their lives because they feel judged by you. They feel controlled by you. And now there goes your friendship.
It just becomes superficial if you
exactly
hang out or you don't.
Yeah, and that's why coaches are that's why it's so powerful, because coaches know, and that's what coaching is. It's not about. That's why when people say, "Can you give me advice?" It's like, no. That's not what coaching is. Coaching is like, we're guiding gently and we're asking questions, right? Yeah. That then lead to them discovering their own answers for themselves. Because if we were to tell someone right away that, and try to pop their bubble like aggressively like that, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't stick.
Doesn't.
When someone discovers it for themselves, it's their discovery. They own it and they move through it.
Yeah. And also, when we require other people to meet us where we are at, in other words, to identify and align with our beliefs, we're actually selfishly ignoring that they're on their own journey. You see what I'm saying? Like, we get to honor that everyone's on their own journey. And when we try to step in and we get aggravated that someone's not meeting us where we are, we're actually not even considering the fact that they're on their own unique journey.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse that with authenticity. Or, I'm not being authentic. I've had, and this happens in the healer space a lot. They're like, I want to be authentic, and so they're like demanding that people meet them on their terms. That's not only bad marketing, but
doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
But they'll point out, well, I want to be authentic.
Yeah.
So
that word was big for me actually when I went through my journey. But authenticity just has to do with you and you. Yeah. That's a relationship between you and you. And the more authentic you are with you, you're actually going to attract that likeness into your life. So you'll actually find that your relationships then become more authentic. If they're not authentic, and if people are showing up in your life that aren't authentic, then actually that's just an indicator that there's something in you that gets to be revealed. That's all that means. There's something out of alignment inside of you.
Yeah.
It's a reflection.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Where can people find you? We're going to shut this down right here. We're going to leave it hot.
Boom.
Because you know what? We're going to have her back. She's coming back.
So you can find me. I'm always on Instagram. And I
always
posting stories, curating stories.
You watch her live asleep.
Wow. They're like, all right, I'm not following her. It just got really weird. Ashley.Hann, Hann, on Instagram, and on all the things. On TikTok, if you want to see me, some of the behind the scenes creativity, I just got on there and I'm having fun with it. So, yep, I'm on the web, ashleyhann.com as well.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun.